Hey everybody, and welcome back to Storytime with JRP. We're continuing my book, Laurence Grey, Secret of the Lost Roanoke Colony, and we're currently in chapter 55. There's only 3 chapters left of this exciting book we've been going over for the last 3 months, and I'm so excited to get close to the end. But if you're just joining us, head back to chapter 1 so you don't miss any crucial details. So a brief recap of chapter 54. Laurence Grey and President Terry spent a number of months holed up in the Area 51 base, coming up with various plans to rescue Grey's son Jason, but all failed. Meanwhile, over in the capital, Emperor Sheldon devised a plan to capture Grey. So, is Grey going to get captured? Is all hope lost? We'll find out right now in chapter 55, titled Things Get Worse. Grey was sitting in the desolate Area 51 control room. He crumpled up yet another plan to save the world and chucked it in the trash. I don't know. I just don't know, he muttered to himself. Maybe someone else is meant to save the world. I'm getting too old for this. Just then, President Terry rushed in. Well, I hope you're not too old for one more mission, Grey, because we have to leave now. Grey didn't even turn. Terry, I'm only half done with our plan. We can't... Grey, there's no time to argue. Look. Terry showed Grey his smartphone. A newsreel was playing. So Emperor Sheldon's elite army squad is closing in on the abandoned Area 51 base where international terrorists Terry Ford and Laurence Grey are hiding. Arrival time is 5 minutes. Authorities say death of Grey and Terry could change the course of the future. This is Air Sheldon 101 coming to you live from Detroit. Grey looked at Terry in cold determination. Let's roll. Grey grabbed the nearest bazooka and a handgun and sprinted after Terry to the last remaining tank in the base. I'll shoot, you drive, said Grey as he hopped in. The big gate then opened. Grey? Said Terry nervously. Did you open that? Grey shook his head. All was silent. Then all of a sudden, a barrage of bullet and laser fire poured in. Troops bearing the brand new logo of Emperor Sheldon raced in, firing at everything. Terry yelled, "Let's move this baby!" The tank fired up and ran over a dozen troops on the way out. They took out a few troops with the tank gun as well, but they were taking way more hits than they were sending. We're losing structural integrity in the port left turret, yelled Terry. Wait, what does that mean? Well, it means we need to get out of here fast so we want to stay in one piece, responded Grey. Now gun it. The tank revved up and charged through the base, running over more Sheldon troopers here and there. When they were 100 yards away from the gate, Terry said, All right, Grey, I made a few calls, and some people are going to show up with a getaway car when we get to the gate. Be ready. Grey partially nodded, distracted shooting soldiers. Okay, you could have told me that earlier. Just tell me when. Now, yelled Terry. Then, in what seemed like slow motion with awesome camera angles, Grey and Terry leapt out of the tank. Landing hard, they somersaulted into the waiting Corvette and took off. The troopers were not prepared to face such opposition, so all they could do was run after Grey on foot, which of course meant that Grey and Terry soon vanished in the distance in their Corvette. Grey turned to the driver. Nice to see you again, Agent Keeler. It's General Keeler now, Grey, said Keeler. I was put in charge of all American forces, and I'm the highest authority in the U.S., save for you and the President. Oh, that's right, I'm the VP now. I forgot, thought Grey. He turned to President Terry, who was sitting in the back. So since General Keeler is here, does that mean the U.S. is not allied with Sheldon? Not yet, said Terry. We're on the way to an army rally to keep it that way. Our forces may be outmatched against the rest of the combined world with their advanced weaponry, but I'm not going to give up this country without a fight. The trio drove to the nearest airport and, using carefully created disguises, took a plane to Roswell, New Mexico. There was a hidden army base there, known as Area 52. I didn't know there was a base here, said Grey. General Keeler responded. Well, it's a very small one, housing only 100 soldiers. It's more of a training base ground for reserves. I'd take us to a bigger base, but this one was the closest. I didn't want to be in the air too long, as it would endanger us being reported to Sheldon. Remember that, Grey. It's not just Sheldon and his armies. It's all those sickos out there who want to turn you in just to make a buck. Got it, said Grey. Keeler nodded. Now you and the President get some rest. Grey and the President, Terry, headed off to their rooms. As Grey's head hit the pillow, he said to himself, Now, if I can just get some rest. Grey awoke suddenly. He didn't know what woke him up until he stumbled outside his room. Then he heard it again, a gunshot. He stepped outside his room, which overlooked a massive courtyard. He was shocked at the sight he beheld. A massive horde of Roanoke soldiers were surrounding a dozen or so Area 52 soldiers. There were dead bodies everywhere. In the center of the rapidly dwindling number of soldiers was none other than President Terry. A few more seconds went by, and the remaining 10 soldiers dropped dead as the Roanokeans shot them in cold blood. Grey could not speak. The enemy surrounded the lone President Terry. Suddenly, Terry made eye contact with Grey. Terry tapped his ear. Grey was reminded that he, the president, and all the agents had instant radio connection to each other. Grey turned it on but didn't say anything, knowing that anything he said would not stop the impending execution. Then the shot rang out. President Terry dropped to the floor. The horde started to disperse. Grey made a bittersweet salute. Not quite dead yet, Terry said into the micro radio with his dying breath, "You're president now." And with that, President Terry Ford died. "No!" screamed Grey in anguish. Unfortunately, this alerted Grey's presence to the Roanoke army, and hundreds of soldiers sprinted towards the stairs. Grey assumed he was the last of the surviving people in the base. He thought about just giving up, but he knew Jason would want him to keep trying until the very end. Grey raced back into his room and locked the door. Seconds later, his door began slamming from all the nutcases banging on it. He heard someone say, "Go get the battering ram." Grey knew he didn't have much time. He grabbed a chair and bashed it into the window, shattering it. He jumped out into the outside night, with nothing more than clothes on the back to protect him. He started running into the desert, with the light of the base fading into the distance. He started to hear the troops behind him a ways back. Then, for some reason, Grey's world faded to white. Whoa. What an incredible chapter, guys. With all hope lost, with all allies dead, Grey is the last remaining force against the evil General Sheldon, now Emperor Sheldon. So, what will Grey do? It keeps seeming like anytime Grey takes a step forward, he loses more allies. So, is there any hope left for Grey? Well, you're going to find out in tomorrow's chapter, guys. Alright? I'll see you then.